Next up in our discovery theme, we'll hear more about how AI is being used to surface stories. We'll get a look behind the scenes at Apuri, an AI tool that helps journalists identify emerging stories at Helsingin Sanomat, Finland's largest subscription-based newspaper. Our next speaker is Senior Editor-in-Chief, and she will share how AI is creating concrete journalistic value and shaping newsroom strategy across the Sanomat Media Group. Please welcome Erja Yläjärvi.
Hi everyone. My name is Erja and I lead Helsingin Sanomat as an editor-in-chief in Helsinki, and happy to be here. It's my first time around. And why I'm talking here as an editor-in-chief and not giving the floor to my excellent and more technically savvy colleagues who are in the audience is the fact that I think and I argue that when you automating newsroom, if your editor-in-chief doesn't know what it's about, you're going to be in trouble. Because this is not like data journalism, where it was quite all right for 10 or 15 years ago. You had your data scientist and you had your data journalism, and if you were editor-in-chief, you were very proud to present your data journalists somewhere, but you didn't necessarily need to incorporate it yourself in the newsroom processes. This is different. No editor-in-chief, no newsroom management team can escape this, and if you don't think about the processes and culture and the trust when you develop these automating tools, it's not gonna work. This is my hypothesis. To those of you very, very quickly who we are Nordic's biggest subscription newspaper, 135 years old. We are 250 journalists, and we share our AI tool innovation lab with Ilta-Sanomat, our sister paper, who is the biggest digital news site in Finland. Our closest counterparts in Nordics would be Aftenposten and Dagens Nyheter, maybe. We own Sanomat is a publicly listed company, so this for us is also about efficiency, not only about innovation. And we own 2 national titles, 2 regional titles, and 12 local newspapers. And unlike the colleagues we heard here, we also automate quite a lot for the sort of local needs. We have 2 million weekly users, so quite big in reach. How I use AI myself, maybe 20 seconds of that. I'm a 48-year-old mother of teenagers, and I used to come from this kind of, at my free time, I read women's women's glosses, Elle, Vogue, Marie Claire, everything. And then I went to Google, like everything in my life, self-help life skills were from Google, and now I use ChatGPT. I discuss everything with it when it comes to sort of private life, how do I raise this issue with my teens, and it's always very empathetic. It's fantastic. It's always like, I know you're tired. It's very reasonable to be tired. But I think it's very, very important that all of you know how you use it yourself, because your customers will use it the same way. Okay, into the news automation. Our vision is about simplified this way. We can call some part of our journalism so-called bulk journalism. We are doing quite lots of news that are happening right now. We subscribe to wire services. This can also be called standardized news. It's not like bulk is meant here in a sort of negative way. And then we think about the sort of craft journalism. We are in a subscription business. So we have external channels, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, you name it. You don't have any control over it. You can use it for marketing purposes, for promoting purposes. We do it. We are on several channels like you are, but you cannot control what's going to happen there. With the sort of standardized journalism, wire journalism, bulk journalism, there's huge possibility for automating everything, and then deciding whether you leave it out or whether to incorporate it to your subscription business in some level. And then the sort of really big philosophical question, what is journalism then when you're going to the craft? Every single one of you is crafting something. Many of the writers are crafting something, but what is craft? And there, our automation philosophy aims at sort of developing tools that we can use for journalists to augment, because that is the only channel, our own direct traffic channel, that is safe, that is under our, it's not safe, but it's under our own control. Quite a lot of everything else will be out of control. It's nice to have control, at least a sense of it. Well, our Watchdog, we already heard about our Norwegian colleagues presenting this idea of a tool of finding news and alert the editors. Very much the same logic to us. We use the Watchdog, the dog actually being a Slack bot with a managing editor's own dog, alerting editors of interesting documents and newsworthy items. It scans official documents, generates summaries. We could have a day of discussing how long you will take the drafting with linguistic models. It can generate summaries. Of course, in the future, you can draft it quite long way. Data is from open APIs, and editors, like I said, are notified when there's potentially newsworthy documents. And here is the example, sorry to take on my glasses, that in Helsinki, a small kid was forgotten when the daycare was on a field trip in the center of Helsinki. Not the societally most important news, but if the child is forgotten and parents are upset, it's definitely relevant. And how it works in a process, there comes the sort of signal, here is the sort of draft already, and an editor here in case Elina says, sounds interesting, pings the editor who is in charge of the sort of local desk at the day as it's working, and then the news is out. And what the asset in the sort of AI world will be is how good the Watchdog is. Like, does it, if you add like tens and tens or hundreds and hundreds of sources, does it know what is newsworthy for you? Not for your competitor, not for your sister site, not for your local site, for you as a brand. And incorporating this sort of brand identity and identifying brand into this will be the sort of really big asset in our belief. Very useful, very useful, like colleagues from Norway already said, for local newsroom. Many of the local newsroom will not be like heavily staffed. As you know, many local newsrooms are already quite limited in staff. Some really local one, only a couple of journalists maybe. So sort of this kind of local newsroom augmentation has a real potential also being a sort of real asset. Like you're bigger than you would be in a standard traditional world. And here we have news from Pori, which is not a small town, but middle-sized town in the sort of west coast Finland. That local decision makers were on a very expensive trip in Paris Olympics with the taxpayers' money. Not necessarily news for Helsingin Sanomat, but certainly news for the sort of local newspaper, and leads to a debate which then is handcrafted. What we're looking quite much into is the sort of investigative journalism. We are a national brand still believing in doing investigative work. And we are not only automating, like building new tools, we try to build it into workflows in the sense that if investigative journalists have documentation, big files, big piles of paper or huge documents, that how can we automate this, and how can AI assist investigative journalists when they try to find newsworthy items. Here's an example. 65,000 new documents were released by President Donald Trump You see it was not very modern in the sort of print. You process the documents, find names and places, and here comes your intelligence. What are you going to try to find? This is journalism. This is something you have to think about because the machine does what it does. We found 500 hits about Helsinki, Finland, and Kekkonen, who is a prominent previous president, very known figure in Finland, and use AI to find news and analyze them. And we were very excited first to see that in January '64, entirely out of context, CIA got the sort of tips that our president was a KGB agent. Unfortunately, this was old news, as our security police already knew this. But here, the AI needs the sort of journalist input, and what we are actually struggling more with right now is not our capacity to build these kind of tools, even if that's also a challenge. It's also like, what kind of ideas do you have in the newsroom? Do you have enough ideas? Do you know which maps or pictures or documents you're trying to analyze? And there, the sort of idea with automation is to sort of work directly with the reporters themselves and not only build a tool. One thing I want to raise here is the trust, internal trust in the newsroom. We built document rake, or kind of tool where journalists can put their own documents. They have this kind of program or this kind of document pile and go around it and go through it within our own toolbox. This is similar to Notebook LLM in technology, but our journalists don't necessarily trust the sort of all the outside tools, and this comes to also the sort of big debate about how much power we are willing to give outside our own newsroom, and what kind of platforms we are going to work with. So if you have the possibility to improve trust, do it, because that will help the newsroom to actually use these tools, and you don't end up as a manager debating whether it's safe or not. Then we have an AI assistant, not revolutionary. Many of the colleagues have the same kind of thing, but we have found it very, very useful. We call it AI assistant, where you have different kind of tools. Archive chat, news editor chat, Watchdog, good tape for transcribing, Copilot, all kind of tools to augment your own story. And why I wanted to show this, not only about the sort of what kind of automating tools you can add, but also the journalists like to feel that they have a control over their own work. They like to feel that the AI is an assistant. They like to feel that it's intuitive to use. You should be helping the journalist and not adding something that is very cumbersome in the system. When I tried to sort of 10 or 15 years ago to sort of use then they sort of data add-ons like surveys and create a small map, it took like ages and I didn't find them and I got annoyed. And you don't want to annoy journalists with this kind of change. So the sort of how the interface and how intuitive is also very, very important in this automating tool. I think I have soon used my time, maybe. Sorry, have I? Yes, I have. Well, I have only one last thought. Having said all this, I would argue that we are in the middle of a change where writing for a kind of subscription paper, this writing is probably not a core skill for most of the journalists in very, very near future. We are very proud of our Finnish, very proud of our feature journalism. We are very proud of our writers, but we are in the middle of a process that these tools already show us that we need to be thinking about what is the core skills and how to communicate it to the newsroom. What to say to the journalist. You're an excellent writer, but now you need to be doing this and using these kind of tools. And within the change management, these kind of questions come very, very quickly to the front line. But my time is up. I thank you for your attention and enjoy your day.